breadcrumbs and some butter. Because you know what's even better than mac and cheese? Mac and cheese with fried bread on top. And I've made this before on binging. It is an excellent, economical, and extremely easy way to make mac and cheese in a flash. But how does it hold up to the let it sit there for 5 minutes test? Let's find out, and the answer is not bad at all. A little solidified, that's to be expected, but it's not the cat litter level of clump that we were experiencing before. So now let's try out the brainchild of my personal hero, J. Kenji Lopez Alt. He recommends covering 6 ounces of pasta with just enough cold water to submerge, bringing that to a boil, and allowing to simmer until most of the water is absorbed and the pasta is fully cooked. Then the mad scientist decrees that we pour 6 ounces of evaporated milk over top, bringing that to a simmer, and then once it's at a bare bubble, adding 6 ounces of the shredded cheese of your choice. So long as it's a pretty good melter and not too aged like Parmesan, it's gonna work fine. Cook that over low to no heat until the cheese is completely melted and the sauce has thickened. Add some optional Dijon mustard and cayenne pepper, always a good idea in mac and cheese. And this creates a pasta and cheese dish that rivals Velveeta in its sustained creaminess. But it tastes like it's made completely from scratch, both because it is and because it uses real cheese. So if you ask me, the madman has done it again. This takes the cake for fastest, easiest, cheesiest, and creamiest. And it stays that way, even when subjected to the let it sit there for 5 minutes test. It shows little to no signs of the dreaded cheese coagulation. So that's the fast and easy stovetop stuff. Let's move on to the real deal, for which we're gonna need a melange of cheeses. As you can see, I've got a good selection here of effective melters and heavy flavor hitters. Starting on my left to your right with maybe the most flavorful, we have some 24-month aged Parmesan, some Gruyere that features great flavor and meltability, likewise with some sharp white cheddar, then something like Fontina or raclette, which is getting on the softer side of things, and some low moisture full fat mozzarella that is pretty much just here for the stretch factor. I'm shredding all of these on the large holes of a box grater and cubing the mozzarella because I want big old chunks of it dispersed throughout my mac. Now you definitely don't have to be this fussy with all the cheeses, you just want about 1.5 pounds all told. Then over on the stovetop we're accomplishing 2 things. We're cooking the pasta of our choice. I'm going with 1 pound of shells, and then in a very large saucepan or fry pan we are making a bechamel. And first I'm going to show you how to do it the wrong way, which is something I totally meant to do. I wanted to show you the wrong way to do it. That's why I did it. It's not because I totally screwed it up on camera. That'd be crazy. So once we've melted a 1/4 cup of butter, what we don't want to do is immediately add a 1/4 cup of flour. That's because butter is loaded with water, as much as possible of which we want to evaporate before adding the flour. So once we've added the flour, we want to whisk that together with the butter and cook it for about 2 to 3 minutes until the raw flour smell dissipates. We don't want the roux to darken. We're trying to make as light a roux as possible, aka a blonde roux, before adding our milk. 4 cups of cold whole milk that we don't want to add too fast, otherwise our roux is going to clump. Now at this point you might be asking yourself, why am I allowed to make a cooking show for millions of people? That's because frequently on this show I'm learning right along with you, so let's start over and do it the right way this time. First we're going to melt the butter and cook it over medium heat for 2 to 3 minutes until it stops spattering, the stage just before browning when most of the moisture has been driven off. Make sure you swirl it regularly, otherwise it might explode, and once it stops making loud popping noises, it's ready to go. Add your equal part or half cup of flour, whisking once again into a thick paste, and cooking for 2 to 3 minutes until the raw flour smell dissipates. Then we're going to add our 4 cups of refrigerator cold milk slowly and in stages. Add a cup and whisk that together until it forms an initially lumpy but eventually smooth paste. Once it's nice and smooth, add about another half a cup. Whisk until that's smooth, add another half a cup, so on and so forth until you've added all your milk. This will ensure that you end up with a nice, smooth, lump-free roux. Whisk that relatively constantly over medium heat until it comes to a bare simmer and reaches a consistency just thicker than that of heavy cream. And boom, you got yourself a bechamel. Now the key step to transforming this into a super smooth, not grainy cheese sauce is adding and melting the cheese off heat. So I'm combining all my cheeses except the mozzarella in a heat-proof bowl and pouring the bechamel over top through a fine mesh strainer, folding the cheese and eventually whisking the cheese into the bechamel until it is totally melted. And with that, we have transformed our bechamel into a Mornay sauce. All it needs is a pinch of kosher salt, some freshly ground pepper, some optional cayenne, and 2 heaping tablespoons of whole grain mustard. Whisk to combine, and then it's time to let everybody get to know each other. In the casserole, first goes the pasta, then goes the sauce. I didn't come up with another rhyme, and that's really it. Give this a little stir inside the casserole to make sure that everything is dispersed, and you've pretty much got yourself an oven-ready mac and cheese, but we're not done yet. Now we're going to add our ½ pound of cubed mozzarella, mixed to make sure that it's evenly dispersed, and then top the whole thing with with maybe another 2 to 3 ounces of grated cheddar and maybe an ounce of grated Parmesan. What do you think, folks? We got enough cheese in there? Time for this guy to head into a 375-degree Fahrenheit oven for about 45 minutes, rotating once during baking until it looks like this. But like all baked cheese and pasta dishes, we need to let it rest for 10 minutes before digging in. And as you can see, I kind of overdid it with the mozzarella cubes. They were a little bit too big and this guy's a little bit too stretchy, but you're not going to hear me complaining. This is a really, really, really good mac and cheese. It's super smooth, it's super flavorful, it's super stretchy, it's super cheesy. And to answer the question that you have, what are you doing with all this mac and cheese in quarantine, Babish? It freezes and reheats beautifully. Just let it cool off for about 30 minutes before dividing into an individual, healthy, reasonably portioned freezing vessel, or let's be real, the family size that we're gonna eat all on our own, wrap tightly in aluminum foil and freeze for up to 2 to 4 months. Now let's take a look at Southern style mac and cheese. I've got 8 ounces of cubed mozzarella, 4 ounces of cubed smoked Gouda, 8 ounces of shredded sharp cheddar, and I'll be topping the whole affair with 2 ounces of grated Parmesan. I've got 1 pound of elbow macaroni that I've cooked to a very al dente state, drained and returned to the warm pot. To this macaroni, I'm going to first add my cheddar cheese and constantly stir that into the pasta while I add 1 can or 12 ounces of evaporated milk. This is going to both form a nice creamy sauce and cool off the pasta enough that we can add a couple other players. First up are cubes of mozzarella and Gouda that we want to remain relatively unmelted so they form nice cheesy pockets in our final mac and cheese. Mix those around until they're evenly dispersed, and then once it's cool enough that you can stick your finger in it without making a scene, it's time to add the Southern mac and cheese oddity, 3 large eggs. This is going to give our mac and cheese a lot of body and structure and make it a bit more casserole-like. We're whisking that around with vigor until the eggs are nice and smooth and incorporated, and we've got a real creamy situation with a few errant chunks of cheese. Now we're going to pour this guy into our waiting casserole, smooth it out until it's nice and even. And then to really hammer home the 4 cheesedness of this mac and cheese, I'm going to grate both 4 ounces of yellow and white cheddar, mix them up real good, and sprinkle them evenly over top, along with that 2-ounce grating of Parmesan cheese that I mentioned earlier. Make sure that's spread out nice and even, and then this guy's headed into the same 375-degree Fahrenheit oven for the same 45 minutes, until it emerges looking like what you see when you close your eyes and I say mac and cheese. This guy's also being left to rest for the requisite 10 minutes before digging in. And this is the kind of mac and cheese that I want to have at my favorite local barbecue restaurant or at my favorite local barbecue. It's got nice structure, but it's still super cheesy and melty and flavorful. And that, my friends, is what I hope will be a definitive guide to how you cheese your mac. This episode and many others have been sponsored by Squarespace because they've been an amazing
There are very few things that humankind has made that I think is truly perfect in every single aspect. This is one of those things. So today we're making mac and cheese, but not just any sort of like mac and cheese and stir. We're making it 3 ways. One that's macaroni in the pot. Shout out to Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B. The second being an oven version, and then the third being a healthy version. Which brings me to my next point. This video is sponsored by Thrive Market. You know, we got the healthy macaroni and cheese and we've got Thrive Market. Now, where does that intersect? Well, I'll tell you. Thrive Market is an online membership-based market that is on a mission to help make healthy living easy and affordable for everyone. Members save an average of $32 per order. And look, let me level with you guys. I work a lot. I work probably 105 hours a week. And, you know, sometimes healthy eating and healthy lifestyle is difficult. And it takes the thought out of it, it takes some of the time out, and it comes straight to your door with exactly what you want. Check the link in the description for a free gift up to $24 in value when you join today. So do me a favor, and if you want to give Thrive Market a try, visit the link in the description and choose a membership model that best fits your lifestyle. So anyway, with all that said, let's make this, shall we? Alrighty tighty, so let's make our first mac and cheese of the day. Make sure to season your water very generously with salt. The Italians will be angry if you don't. And, well, so will I. First, start by boiling half a pound of macaroni or pasta of choice. Now cook that bad boy just until al dente. Drain it and hold it on the side. To make this sauce, simply melt 2 tablespoons or 28 grams of unsalted butter over a medium heat, then add 2 tablespoons or 18 grams of all-purpose flour.
Mix that together and let that cook for about 45 seconds. Now from there, you're gonna slowly add 1 cup or 240 milliliters of whole milk. Keep whisking over medium heat until that thickens nicely like so. Now shut the heat off and add 2 cups or 180 grams of grated cheese. This is half raclette and half cheddar, little bit classy. Whisk that all together until completely melted and smooth like this. I mean, come on, it's just
velvet gorgeousness. I mean, come on, it looks like velvet. I guess that's where the term Velveeta comes from, because it's like velvety, but you know, that mashup of words didn't work so well. Anyway, it's velvety liquid smooth.
Then finish it off by whisking in 3.5 tablespoons or 55 grams of creme fraiche for a little bit of a chef's kiss. Season that to taste with salt and stir your macaroni back in for a symphony both in flavor and sound. Now that's macaroni in the pot. Now for the next one, we're gonna make a family style oven version. For the breadcrumb topping, mix together 3/4 cup or 58 grams of panko breadcrumbs. Why did I say that like the foot lettuce guy? 1 tablespoon or 9 grams of za'atar, 2 teaspoons or 3 grams of fresh chopped thyme. Mix all that together till combined, then mix in 4 tablespoons or 56 grams of melted unsalted butter. Feel free to add some flaky salt or black pepper if you have that. Now for the pasta portion, it's the same procedure as before, but with different proportions. First, mix together 3 cups or 250 grams of cheddar and 3 cups or 250 grams of Gruyere. Then in a large pot, boil 1 pound of macaroni, this time using a conchiglie shape. That's what I like. Boil just before it's al dente and slightly underdone. Drain it again. Then in the empty pot, add a 1/3 cup or 73 grams of unsalted butter. Melt over medium heat. Sounding familiar? Whisk in a 1/3 cup or 50 grams of all-purpose flour. Cook for 45 seconds. Then this time add in 3 cups or 720 milliliters of whole milk. Whisk that till it begins to thicken. Then add 4 cups of that cheese mix that you made earlier. Whisk until completely smooth. Add your pasta back in. Mix.
Oh. Whoa. That doesn't usually happen.
Then from there, you're gonna pour half of that into a 4 to 5 quart baking dish, sprinkle on the remaining cheese mixture, then pour the other half on top. Top that off with all of your breadcrumb topping and place it in an oven that's been set to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius for 25 to 30 minutes or until bubbly and the topping is lightly golden like so. Now let's taste test these two.
First up, we have the regular mac and cheese. This is a simple one, right? We're talking a true Mornay sauce. It's a roux, it's milk, it's cheese, and you put macaroni in it. That is true, simple macaroni in the pot. This is for Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. Thank you so much. So this has like that classic sort of like buffet style macaroni and cheese. You go to a hotel and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go on the slip and slide. But it ends up not being that fun. But you have this macaroni awaiting in a big hotel pan and all the people are yelling and screaming. Anyway, so second. Oh, this is a really simple, common oven mac and cheese. You put panko breadcrumbs on top. We've got a Mornay sauce, but you see, you flavor the panko breadcrumbs and it permeates through the whole dish. This one is ultra cheesy, like. Oh yeah, that's the one. This is the one. It's like a big mouth singing to me. Like, this is way better. Flavor texturally, you get more volume, you can cook a lot all at once. This is all you get for this recipe. Granted, you could scale it up, but a little extra time, a little extra effort. Anyway, the point is you have 2 easy mac and cheese recipes. You can either go the 1-step version or you can go the 2-step version. But if you just take that extra effort, I promise you, it will be worth it.
Okay, last but not least is the healthier, low-calorie mac and cheese from our homies at Thrive Market. Same as before, you're gonna go ahead and boil yourself 1 pound of nice shell pasta. Here I've got some brown rice pasta. Low GI gang, you heard? Boil that according to the directions. Separately, we're gonna make a low-calorie cheese sauce, which I didn't think was possible until I figured this one out. So get yourself a head of cauliflower, remove the florets, place those bulbous veggie clouds into a pot filled with water, bring to a boil and boil those puppies until they're, well, about as soft as they can get, around 8 to 10 minutes. I want them to be mushy. Go ahead and fish those brothers out of the water, pop them into a blender, start off with about a cup of your water that you used to boil, begin blending, adding additional water if needed, and once that's nice and smooth and vortex,
absolutely, yeah, exactly, absolutely.
Find a way to get away from.
1 tablespoon or 14 grams.
This is that one time, Griffin, where you almost don't want to make a flush right. Your hand's now just too blooming good, and it's too obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
powder and salt and pepper to taste. I'm using truffle salt because, well, why not? Blend till beautifully incorporated and taste salty.
The only hand,
like
now
just mix that together with your pasta.
Here is like pocket
I'm always
tens
amazed
with the
by
10 of
this.
spades.
Although it's tasty, you don't need a ton of cream and cheese to make something taste great.
Call with the second nuts, but
now let us compare our flavors.
Right, so the sun went away. Bummer. So the killer
Maybe ace 10, the 10 of
got
spades.
essentially, it's not
Would bet call the
beat it,
flop.
but it's vegetarian. Use a
Certainly
vegetarian
call the
shot.
turn.
Nonetheless,
but
this is a
it's not his
healthier
hand.
version of
Naza
mac and
does
cheese.
like a good
It's
bluff
low
catch.
calorie, you need a bunch of
I don't know. This
watch
just
it.
feels. Again, it's so hard not to be influenced by seeing the other players' cards, but just how awful does a set of nines actually look on that board when you've just been facing such strong bets from your opponent?
It's a waste of a set. You're like, just take the set back and let me have one where I win the hand.
Is the texture of this exactly the same as mac and cheese? Of course
What's the
not.
point?
The
You're supposed to
flavor
win
itself
when you
is
flop a
amazing.
set. This is
Very,
gross.
Very nice. That truffle salt really helps. And the cheese, that nutritional yeast really helps lift the cheese
Again, you could
flavor.
add that to
If you're
your
on a diet,
rules of your new version of
Yeah.
poker. If you flop a set, you automatically win.
Do you want to know what else is saucy?
You're the emotional winner. I mean, the good news is that feeling of how great it feels to flop a set. That's, you know, you still got to experience that. Good lay down now. No, sir.
Makes the fold, and Bodzikowski moves over the 2 million mark.
Little does he know, though, like, you know,
is
that
it. So we made
wasn't quite as, that was a really not annoying run out, despite how annoying it looked.
Absolutely. I mean, the joy of flopping the set would have been stolen had you realized your opponent flopped the straight.
Comment here from Twitch. I've just noticed that Malinovsky's username starts with an I and not an L. I vote that the commentators start pronouncing his name how it's actually written. Okay, X0 Sonic 0X. Thank you for your comment.
We did have a lengthy meeting about this with the Stars team here about how to pronounce the name, and we decided it was just going to be easier for the vernacular to just say Limitless. That was a long hour and a half, let me tell you. A lot of passionate people within the team that said, we have to keep it straight here. The guy's name is not Limitless.
And bear in mind, Griffin was late for the
a lot of
meeting and he came
banged
in for the last third.
yeah. I missed most of the drama. The bloody nose. It's the whole thing.
Ooh. So top for Ben CB and the open-ended straight draw for Naza.
Yeah, this is a very fun little action flop, especially when the King Jack, Jack of Spades continues, making some turn cards quite interesting. Naz is like, oh yeah, give me that 2 big blind peel for the nut straight draw.
Or just give me that too.
Yeah, that's the nuts, Joe.
Naza raises with his straight draw.
We're both wrong.
This is a dangerous line to take here. I certainly get the argument. You know, Ben CB's sitting there with pocket every time. What? You said put the deuce out there, not the 3. Oh, you're saying 3's.
I
on the
know.
turn,
What I'm
right?
saying
Rules.
is every time you have a straight draw, the board pairs. You end up making a pair. It's going to be a 4 or 5 on the river now.
Well, João Vieira continues to play as aggressively, Griffin, barreling 260k.
Ha!
And there you go. You were right. You were right, Joe. It was a 4 on the river.
It's just unreal. Has anybody crunched the numbers on this yet?
They're still
It is.
working on Griffin's aces thing. Give him a chance.
I'm telling you, that one of these days they're going to flip it so that a straight's worth more than a flush. They're so much harder to make. I don't know whoever came up with that in the first place. They blew it, though.
And
Naza.
NASA goes for it here.
Most of his
No.
chips.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the kind of hands Naza is going to be check raising the flop with are, 6-3 suited, I guess Queen 6 suited, Queen 3 suited. But let's just assume that it's, one of the many spade draws. It has now gotten there. That's really what NASA is trying to represent. Either the 3-6 suited kind of hand or the spades that have gotten there. So Ben CB is now deliberating on, okay, well, what am I beating here? I'm beating 4-5. I'm beating 5-2 of diamonds, like 4-7 of diamonds. So it's a tough spot. The spade has got there. NASA recognizes that Ben CB has a queen here, probably quite a big one, calling in mid-early position, something like ace queen, king queen.
Hero call on the line.
I'm being corrected by the chat. Yes, 5 deuce suited would have been a straight. So really, 4-5 suited and 4-7 suited.
It kind of proves your point even more.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to call. Yeah. Thank you, Flow State. Thank you, G-Man Creef.
Uses most of his time bank and then makes the fold. The bluff gets through. And Broken Heart asks, or rather states, it's sick to think that 9th/8th place could be down money in this. Well, actually, everyone is guaranteed to make a small profit. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4 players at this final table who fired 2 bullets. We're actually playing this as a 50k rather than a 25k. So they would still make $4,286 on their investment. Spare a thought. Actually, don't spare a thought. He's got plenty of money. Timothy Adams fired 3 shots at this and busted in 11th, 2 off the money. So Timothy Adams in for $75,000, did not cash.
Yeah, I would say don't spare a thought because he's definitely not thinking about it. Cruel Tech says, I'm officially on Team Joao now. Nice bluff. It's hard not to be a fan of that dude. He's a pretty fun player to watch.
So much experience, so well studied, so committed to his craft. So many wins in so many different disciplines, and so many scoops. WQ. He's just one of the greats.
An opening here with ace-9. The actual tally on his wins, Griffin, 4 scoop titles, 4 WCOOP titles. Won a World Series of Poker bracelet back in 2019. Always coming 7.
Nice work, I Imitless. He's probably so mad right now. He's probably like really, really pissed off. He's just like...
Meanwhile, NASA has paired his 9, facing a bet from Lean at 900 of 72,600.
Yeah, nice check back here from NASA. Ace-9 high is going to be good a lot of the time. It's the kind of board the big blind can check raise bluff and really put you in jail. But now with that 9 on the turn, and interesting seeing NASA raise it. Kind of a similar principle to what Ben CB did, block betting the ace-king X board with the king-jack, I think. NASA recognizing that, ace-9 is probably good, want to protect his equity. Good stuff.
So we hit the first break and we are still 9-handed. Let's talk about one of our finalists. A player with 2 Spring Championship of online poker titles. That player being Votenlos. Won his first scoop in 2019. That was in a 1K6 max event, and his second title was last year. That was worth just over 40K. He's also a WCOOP winner. So his real name is Christian Rudolph. But to us, we will always know him as Sevens Guy.
Back in Barcelona 2014, a dude named Andre Latau and his pals were a bit obsessed with the number 7. 7! And this, well, it became a thing. 7! 7!
Every time the 7 was coming.
And we caught up with Christian to see if he's still all about the 7s.
I believe in the mighty sevens. This is the year of the seven. Last year was the year of the sixes, and there's a famous player who believes in some numbers, like C. Darwin, who thinks the six is a mighty number, so he had a good year, and I believe this is a good year for me.
Well, that was back in 2018, but for Christian, it is still all about the seven. At the start of the series, he tweeted this. Okay, prepared for tomorrow's scoop. My girlfriend just cut my hair so I feel younger. We'll need it though. Have a huge bet with Pone Diddy versus Darwin Lena and Pads European. Will the mighty seven curse them? Which I'm assuming is some amalgamation of crush and curse. Let's go, Team Austria. So the first thing to say, Joe, is it would appear that a few of the players at this final table have some side bets going on.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to Christian Rudolph, but if he's got some kind of side bet going that involves C. Darwin and he's not on the C. Darwin side, he's probably not doing very well at the moment.
And the other thing I love, Griffin, is how earnest and genuine Christian Rudolph seems to be about the whole sevens thing. He gave us such nonsensical answers when we asked in 2014 at that EPT why all the Germans were yelling sevens. And then when we caught up with him at the PCA that year, yes, I actually believe last year was the year of the sixes. Either he's doing a really great troll, or he genuinely believes in the power of the seven.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really tell. I will say that, when you think about athletes at the top of their craft, they have superstitions. And these guys play a lot of poker and see a lot of cards and see a lot of runouts. And, you start to see patterns and you start to see, certain cards that start making you a lot of money. And, it's fun to just latch onto something like that and just have a little fun with it. And sharing it with us at the EPT was great. And the fact that we're still talking about it, we got the graphic. It's great. I love it.
Yeah,
I think look, you gotta look at it the way people look at religion, right? Like sevens is a religion to this person. Ask someone to explain God, and their explanation is God, and that's the way Christian Rudolph feels about sevens. Is just sevens. Sevens always have been, always will be. It's a religion. No further explanation needed.
So the two players that it seems he's cross-booked against at this final table. The first is Samuel Vusten from Finland, a player who won his third scoop title early this series, and the other is another incredibly talented online player. That is Nicholas Aztet. That is Lena 900. 5 scoop titles in total. The other coming, the fifth, I should say, coming just the other night. And Griffin, I love the in-joke here. We've spoken a lot about the fact that Brazil has just been crushing online events over the last 2 years. Over 25 scoop titles in this series. Selena thinks, hey, I'll change my avatar to a Brazilian flag. 24 hours later, wins another scoop.
I mean, you couldn't write the script any better if you were Lena 900, and it doesn't feel, entirely surprising, the power of that flag and the whole nation behind him. So, the Brazilians, they get it done. They've been doing it for a while now, and it keeps going.
I just love the fact that, look, there is no doubting the talent we've got at this final table and how awesome these players are, but their superstitions, if nothing else, amuse me. So, with 9 players remaining, we return to the action. Michael Adamo still chip leader, still close to 100 bigs. No one super short. Lena 900 officially the smallest stack with 24 bigs. Time for Joe to take his break. Griffin and I are going to call the action for the next 55 minutes. As cards are in the air once again, blinds 20,000, 40,000, and we've got 2 players with ace-king here.
Yeah, massive hands, but very deep here. About 50 big blinds for Fish 2013, about 60 for One Connor B1. Limitless with the pocket eights behind. It might be an opportunity to find a flat there if Fish decided to just flat, but you have to imagine these guys, they're trying to get chips in the middle pre-flop. So expect Fish to probably pop it up here against Connor Beresford.
No, just a flat. And now we've got Victor Malinovsky folding the snowmans.
Wow. I'm telling you, this guy does not believe in the pocket pairs. It's
look at the board.
Yeah, well, I see it. I see it, baby.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda, Victor.
But hey, you know, from what I've learned about Limitless, probably very confident in his abilities, and this is, you know, this is part of his strategy clearly to not be set mining at this final table. And in fairness, wouldn't have made a great deal of chips on this hand.
Well, it went check on the flop. And if it gets to showdown, it will be a chop pot. But the question is, does it get to showdown? Anyone want to stick out a little tickler? Take a prod at this?
I think if Connor bets here, it's for value. Trying to get a little bit of value from ace queen, ace jack. But of course, Mikita with the ace king expect to just see a call.
And this will be a chop pot. You know what they say, Griffin?
Everyone loves a chop pot. Did I just get fired?
You know what? I would just about be able to tolerate your improvising if you'd not said chopped.
Is it just chop? Maybe that's why I'm always off. I think I always say chopped.
And breathe. I'm like box flopping best here. Look,
He's 10-4.
I'm going to give you marks for effort. If nothing else, Griffin, you embraced it. You went for it. That's more than we can say about some people. Sam Crafton.
I love why not saying he ruined a perfect one. Apparently it was a one-time synced up. And I went rogue, James. You're a loose cannon, Griffin. I want your badge and your
Griffins
gun.
Go rogue.
Get out of my office. Yeah. It's cheeky check back. I'm luck box on the flop here, trying to let Connor find some equity on the turn. Didn't find it with the ace 10, no spade though. But you know, that turns a 10. He's a genius. Going to get value from that ace 10.
Okay, well, it seems that Victor Malinovsky doesn't hate all pocket pairs. Prepared to open with queens.
We finally found his line. We don't know what he'll do with nines through jacks, but queens, we know.
Connor Beresford, 10-8 in the big. Defends. Does not really connect.
Malcolm the Carrot Fluff deciding to lead. It is one of those board textures that technically favors Connor's range, but actually quite lucky for Connor for that ace to turn in the context of not finding a card to barrel. You know, if the turn's a 9, 7, maybe even, yeah, probably a 5 as well. I think we would expect Connor with that turned equity, getting some straight draws, would continue repping, having either the turned straight or, you know, so, but ace, yeah, I think he's going to chill out.
So Connor took a stab on the flop, checked the turn, looking at a pot of 337,500. Checks again.
And now Limitless trying to decide if he wants to get some value, but it's kind of an annoying value bet spot because you think you're probably more likely to get check raised, bluffed, or check raised for value than you are getting called by a 6 that would have been leading the flop. A 6 might even turn their hand into a bluff. So I'm a bit surprised to see Limitless go for value here, but maybe it's because he's so willing to call that check raise. Nice hand.
And blinds up to 25,000, 50,000. Still 9-handed at the final table of this 25K super high roller. No eliminations yet.
Yeah, you know what? We started, I think, at big blind. Was it 25 or 30,000?
We started at
30,000.
35,000, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, everyone had a stack of somewhere between 25 and 125 blinds, and here we are. And you know, only Lena is technically less than 20 big blinds. So the chips have moved around a bit, but no player really in serious danger, really anyone's final table here. Certainly I'm Luckbox, the best opportunity for a top 3 finish, but everyone really in the hunt.
And it's Connor Beresford with the Broadway draw, betting 133,000 here. Mikita Bodziakowski with second pair.
Yeah, going to be very happy to call here. Defended that open, flop second pair.
I'm telling you guys, these 7-7 boards just keep on coming. European, Ben CB. Got to be in it to win it.
I think this is a fine give up here from Connor. Just hope to get that free card from a hand like a jack. You don't want to bet again here because you're not going to get a fold from a king. You're probably not going to get a fold from a jack. 7's clearly not going anywhere. So instead, take that free card. Hope to hit that queen on the river or ace. There's also some of the time you're going to still be ahead with ace high on that turn card, hands like queen 9 and queen 10, which would call the flop and pre-flop. But ace 10, not a great bluff catcher here with the 10 in the hand because it gives Mikita less 10s that he could have.
And 214 into 670.
Yeah, one straight has come in, the 9-10, which would have called pre-flop and on the flop. It is such a sick raise. And see, this is the next level stuff, James Hardigan. Like, while we're thinking about what hands he can think about him having as a bluff, you know, instead of taking that deathly 10 that we were thinking, oh, I have a 10, so it has so much less likely that he has, you know, queen 10 and whatever. He says, okay, well, if I have a 10, that means I could have 9-10. And goes for it. And a lot of consideration here from Mikita because Mikita's not value betting this river if he's not sometimes ready to call a check raise, knowing that Connor can be bluffing. So just incredible stuff here. I could watch this all day.
Really strong poker, as one would expect from a $25,000 buy-in event. 51 unique players in this one, 20 re-entries, so a total of 71 entries, prize pool of 1.74 million. I referenced already that Tim Adams narrowly missed out on the money, having fired 3 bullets, busted in 11th. It was Jason Kuhn who went out on the pure bubble, 10th place finisher last night, leaving us with our final table of 9 and leaving everyone guaranteed at least 54K. And 2 pair here
Massive
for Victor
flop.
Malinovsky. And the wheel draw for Connor Beresford.
Yeah, and the backdoor spades. Connor with an unfoldable hand on the flop here, limitless. Certainly going to be finding a lot of check raises here. and is going to get some value from Connor.
And check raise from Limitless. And no help to Connor Beresford on the turn. Less than 10% equity now. And having taken that betting lead on the flop, is Victor going to follow through with another bet on the turn?
Almost certainly, and can be considered a good turn card for Connor in that probably won't be willing to continue against a, 500,000-600,000 chip bet. Turn is a 5 or any spade. There's a lot of cards where Connor would have to really call a big bet, but that shove is going to make it quite easy.
And now Limitless and Connor B pretty much tied on 2.4 million each. And Luckbox still chip leader and opening here to 100k with King 7 of spades.
Do it to him, Connor.
Instead, it's left to Nazar, who has Queen 9 in the big blind.
And some pretty big late position hands here from Makita with the King, Queen of clubs, and I'm Luckbox. Queens in the big blind.
Three bets to 425,000. King, Queen suited. Such an attractive hand.
Yeah, very problematic spot here for Fish 2013. Certainly, I'm Lockbox could be having some bluffs here, 3-betting from the big, but also you decide to call here. Going to have about 20 big blinds and an SPR of just over 1. And if your opponent it does have a big hand and does just shove it in, doesn't believe.
Gets it in, but spikes a king on the flop, Griffin.
Oof.
And gets lucky to double up. And takes the chip lead. 3 million now for Mikita Bodziakowski.
Yeah, didn't really believe Michael Adamo